and the law of attraction and deliberate creation and such, I realized that more focus and more feeling was required because most of these relationships, all of them have faded away. My question is, how much detail is too much detail? In the past, I had the age, the body structure, the hair color, the ethnicity. Is that too much detail?
Well, the way of gauging it is be as specific as you can be and still feel good.
Okay.
Because when you get more specific, then your beliefs will accommodate. You will start feeling bad. In other words, if you're not specific enough, it doesn't feel real, or it doesn't, or energy doesn't really move. But if you get too specific on subjects where you have doubt, then you throw resistance on your trail and you slow it all down. So it really is this evolution of thought from the vibration into an experience, or the vibration turning thoughts to things. Mm-hmm. When you are looking at that idea and you allow yourself, you see, there's the vibration, and then the next evolution, which we want to call a manifestation, mm-hmm. is the thought.
Okay.
And emotion that follows right there with it. So if you could accept and agree with and make peace with, if it could be enough, if the thought and the emotion could be enough without all this needing to play out, then as you begin taking pleasure in your thought, pleasure which is the emotional response to the thought, as you begin taking pleasure in your thought, you gain enough momentum that it has to play all the way out. But when you try to get more specific and make it play out before you've got this part in line, then what happens is it's like being on a trampoline where you're kind of off kilter and you just keep ending off, bouncing off where you don't mean to be. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, if you could enjoy with us the idea of a vibration becoming more, and the more that it becomes being an idea that just feels good to think about, and if for just a little while that could be your only objective, just to think about relationships or a relationship and feel good while you're doing it, so that you're not introducing the absence of it into the equation, because that's the thing that trips you all up. I want this thing I do not have. I want this thing I do not have. I want this thing I do not have. And you don't make any headway. But if I want this thing, I like this thing, I enjoy this thing, I like this experience, I'm taking pleasure from the idea of this, then the resistance goes away, and the natural progression or evolution of it from thought to full-blown manifestation has to come. What keeps wonderful relationships wonderful is a continuing appreciation once the manifestation has occurred.
Okay.
It's simpler than it seems, but it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear someone crowing about how simple it is to get something that you want and don't have. It's like just rubbing it in. We know. Mm-hmm. But as you've heard enough here today to get a sense of what attraction is and what law of attraction is doing and what your relationship with it is. So I have some questions for you. Do you believe that you have lived enough life to have identified, as you've been sifting and sorting, what you really want in regards to a relationship?
I feel I'm the first I've ever come. I feel there's still a little bit more to go, but it's getting pretty close. So which feels like the path of least resistance to you? I've sifted enough and I know what I want. Mm-hmm. Or I know what I want and I'm just slightly resistant to it. What's less resistant? The first one, the sifting through.
All right, well then then, so we're going to say it in a few different ways, just so that you can be
Sure.
sure that's because one of two things is happening. Either you don't really know what you want, so you're still in the data collecting phase,
Right.
or you've collected enough data for 20 or 30 lifetimes, and you're just out of whack with what you want.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure I know what I want. I need a lot more experiences in order to know what I want. What feels like the path of least resistance?
I'm pretty sure I know what I want.
We're pretty sure you know what you want too.
Yeah.
So if you're pretty sure what you want and it's not come to full fruition, then that must mean that you're not a vibrational match to it. So now let's sort that out a little bit.
Sure.
I know what I want, but I can't find it. I know what I want, and I haven't been tuned to it, which feels like the path of least resistance.
I know what I want. I haven't been tuned to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which feels like the path of least resistance? I'm not good at tuning to what I want, or I can feel when I'm tuning to what I want.
Yeah, I can feel.
Which is the path of least resistance? I have no idea what I'm doing to shoot myself in the foot. Or my negative emotion is a clue when I'm shooting myself in the foot.
Sure.
What's the path of least resistance? I need to get what I want in order to feel good. I can find pleasure from thoughts even before it comes.
Sure.
Pretty simple. It's
Yeah.
getting clear all the time, isn't it?
Correct.
So which is the path of least resistance? Finding a perfect relationship is really hard. I'm in the process of finding a perfect relationship.
Yeah, I'm in the process. So.
Which is the path of least resistance? It's taking way too long. Or I'm right on track.
Okay.
Now that was, let's do that again. It's taking longer than I want it to. Or I'm willing to let it take as long as it takes.
Yeah.
Which is the path of least resistance? I'm off my path or I'm on my path.
Yeah.
Which is the path of least resistance? I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm getting a sense of this. Which is the path of least resistance? I've really made a mess of this. I'm figuring this out. What's the path of least resistance? Am I ever going to find what I want? It's unfolding for me now. You see what we're getting at?
Right.
So, what's the path of least resistance? When I see it, I'll know it, and then I'll be happy. I can be happy anyway. And then it's logical that it will flow. What's the path of least resistance? I'm running out of time. I have all the time in the world. What's the path of least resistance? It's urgent. It's not urgent. Got to do it now, all in good time. In other words, you just got to catch yourself in the act of a thought and ask yourself, resistance or open path? And then just be more focused about being nice to yourself. Because you see, we don't want you to be nice to yourself so that you can find the relationship you're looking for. We just want you to be nice to yourself. That's why you want a relationship. You want somebody to be nice to you.
Correct.
So why don't you just be nice to yourself?
Right. Right.
Be nice to yourself.
Sure.
And then what you want comes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, on the line then on focusing, I tend to be open and available, put out that energy, I tend to attract females quite regularly. Do I require being more specific or putting out an energy of something that's not as open or available? Because
Well,
I'm
so-
looking for that
so-
specific person?
So this is good. So what's
Yeah.
the path? What's the path of least resistance? To shut down the flow, or
Right.
to enjoy the flow that's coming?
Sure. Enjoy the flow that's coming.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I've decided to enjoy the flow that's coming. So what's the path of least resistance? To try to make every single person the one, or to just enjoy the company?
Right. Okay.
to be collecting the data.
Right. Okay.
There's something there that's really worth talking about, because what's the path of least resistance? I'm the picky one, the other's the picky one. It's a trap, be careful.
Yeah. Well,
What feels the best? What feels the best? I'm very discriminating about what I want.
Sure.
I keep meeting up with others who are so discriminating about what they want.
I think it's me. It's more I'm the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the way that it is. We just wanted to make sure that you understand that.
Sure.
It's good for me. It's good for me to know what I want. It's good for me to know what I want. It's good for me to know what I want. Here. What's the path of least resistance? So now, let's take it out of the conversation that you're having with yourself,
okay.
and let's be in the middle of one of those experiences where it's not really what you're looking for, and it's happening right now.
Okay.
Because they come easily to you. The ones you don't want come easily to you.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's sort of kind of what you're...
Yeah, to some degree, yeah.
To every degree.
Okay.
That is what we're talking about here.
Okay.
So what's the path of least resistance? To point out what's missing, or to acknowledge the good attraction that I have done in part.
Yeah, the good attraction.
In other words,
sure.
I see why law of attraction matched me up here, because
Absolutely.
of all of these positive aspects,
Absolutely.
rather than
Oh,
as
absolutely.
law of attraction lost its mind.
Well,
So what's the path of least resistance? Law of attraction only gives me part of what I want, or law of attraction gives me some of everything that's active in me.
sure. Sure.
Law of attraction gives me some of everything that's active in me. So what's active in me is wanted and unwanted. And why is wanted active in me? Because I think about it. Why is unwanted active in me? Because I think about it. So isn't it nice that you are getting a ongoing preview of what you've got going on in terms of your thought process? So now we have some questions for you, for all of you, really. Think about this. Do you think that you do... Oh, this is so good. This is the piece that you've all been looking for. So think about it in terms of this continuum, this evolution between the vibration turning to a thought and an emotion into a relationship or an experience. So do you think that the majority... So